It is our Frozen Four edition with the Frozen Four on the horizon. And the ECAC representative, Harvard, we have Coach Ted Donato. And representing the Harvard team, we've had several members of the team this year. And this week, we're very happy to have with us as our Crimson profile, if you will, John Marino, freshman defenseman from Northeastern Mass. John, thanks for taking the time with us this week. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Well, John, you have had quite a ride here as a freshman member of the Crimson, a veteran team, well-documented, 7 seniors that have been had the kind of the whole roller coaster ride of what a 4-year college career is and spent together. You come in as a freshman. You've been a big impact player. What's it been like with a team that seems to have such a strong core group of leaders on it in terms of the adjustment that you made to become part of it?
I honestly loved it. I mean, it makes the transition for me so much easier with all the upperclassmen kind of showing you the ropes on and off the ice. So having them on board just makes the whole thing so much easier on the younger guys like myself.
And I'm sure that as being part of the Harvard hockey culture and being brought into it, indoctrinated to it, that there was a lot of unfinished business left on the table from the last couple of years when the Crimson have turned it around. And so far, it's been an absolutely brilliant run. As they say, you've been checking all the boxes along the way and playing a lot of playoff-type hockey going all the way back really till around mid-season.
Yeah. I mean, like we usually call it trophy season. Started out for the Beanpot, Ivy League, ECAC, so far it's going well, but 2 more games to go.
You look at it now, and I thought about it when I was making predictions as far as and observations about the regional. It is a unique aspect. I don't think it's a coincidence watching teams that have come from the Boston, from the Beanpot schools, that there is maybe a little bit of an edge that they have. You know, that there's obviously Christmas tournaments, there's some in-season tournaments, but the whole unique aspect of the Beanpot. Now, I'm curious to get your answer as a freshman. It really does prepare you because it really is a single elimination scenario. It's a one and done in its own way because you don't want to be playing in that consolation game. You want a chance to win a trophy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that's playoff hockey. I mean that's one of the toughest games all year, the Beanpot, because I mean, especially being a guy from the hometown, and a lot of guys who play in it are from around here, so they know how much it means to them. But yeah, definitely one and done, and kind of gets you ready for something like the tournament or the ECAC playoffs.
This team has been on a run, the longest unbeaten streak. You go all the way back to January. Really hit your stride at the right time. But once again, I always say long and winding college hockey season. Inevitably, there's going to be bumps on the road. It's such a long year. You had a little bit of a bump in the road, a little bit of a blip on the screen with the 3-game losing streak in January. But the team did bounce back very quickly from that. Can you give us a little perspective of what that was like in terms of rallying and getting it back on course?
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, obviously we were expected to win against those teams, but I think if we didn't have that little skid or lose those 3 games, we wouldn't be where we are right now. We kind of learned from it and pick it up after that.
Well, indeed, picked it up, and as we've talked about, it has been a trophy season thus far for the Crimson right through. You had, just looking back to winning that ECAC tournament in Lake Placid, and you being a freshman, John, I'm sure that you became part of and realized the significance and how raucous and hard-fought that Harvard-Cornell rivalry is, and you had to go through Cornell in order to get that trophy. Yeah,
Cornell, I mean, obviously the first time we went there to their barn, that was something else for me, was throwing the fish on the ice, and that was pretty cool. I mean, some of the loudest fans I've ever played against, but yeah, we had to play them, and they beat Union. They beat a great team. They were on a roll, but we were able to dig deep. Our goaltender played really well and able to pull that off too.
And then the regional, and a lot was talked about the fact Providence, second time in 3 years, was going to be playing very close to home downtown at the Dunk, and that opportunity for them. But how did you guys, when you saw it come up on the screen, you knew it was going to be a reality? Was it something that, with that senior leadership, that you really embraced, that, this is going to be a unique opportunity for us, let alone the fact that it's the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, the seniors have all done this before. Their goal wasn't really to make the tournament, it was to win it, because they've already been it through a couple times. But, I mean, for the younger guys, really cool experience. And playing against Providence, that was probably one of the toughest games all year, just being in Providence, their home ice, all their home fans. But seniors really just been able to lead us for the whole season.
and was a much tighter game when you look at it in terms of the final score being 3-0. But you referenced your goalie and how strong he's been. You needed Merrick Manson to really weather some of the storms there in order to make sure you're in a good position to manage the game.
Yeah, I think that's what the teams do. I mean, when we're not playing well, we need him to step up, and he's done that all year. Definitely against Providence, he got that shutout, and he only let up 2 goals against Air Force. I mean, he was definitely the brick wall there that helped us get to the Frozen Four.
Indeed, he was allowing you to get to the final and to the regional final. Air Force team that, well, what they say about the cadets and playing a military academy, they're not going to go away. And it was a great example. As much as you got the jump on the scoreboard, I would suspect as you look back on that, John, that was a grinder for you.
Yeah. I mean, they beat a great team, Western Michigan, 5th in the country the night before. So we knew they were going to be a great team, and they're so disciplined. They work unbelievably hard. I mean, a military academy, wouldn't expect anything else. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely no cakewalk. They have a lot to be proud of this year. They have a great team.
Advancing from Providence and headed to the Frozen Four, and you'll be headed back out to USHL country, John. You're a Boston area, Boston suburban native from northeastern Mass, home of great Olympian goaltender, gold medal goalie from BU, Jim Craig. Certainly hockey country around Boston. In terms of preparing to come to college, you took that USHL route, and you're no stranger to success with the Clark Cup championship a year ago.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be part of that too. We had another great team, good leadership. I mean, it's all about everyone just buying in, and lucky enough to be part of that.
Anybody in particular you look to at the pro level as far as your game? You certainly have displayed a good all-around game and have been an offensive influence as well, really a 3-zone type of influence. Anybody you look to at the next level to mentor you a little bit?
I kind of look at the play of Ben Hutton a little. Kind of just maybe like match my game with him. I kind of watched him a little bit. I mean, he also played at Maine, college hockey player. So
yep,
one of those guys I can look at.
And was it always a strong motivation for you? Growing up in this era, we just talked about the Beanpot, that the college route, and maybe I'll have a chance to play for one of those Beanpot schools.
Yeah, Beanpot. I mean, always going to those as a kid. I mean, I always dreamed about playing in the Beanpot. I mean, my dad would always talk about it. But, yeah, I mean, it was pretty much a dream come true winning that, especially being from Boston.
Well, you really have influenced, as I alluded to, in all 3 zones. You're pretty solid with 15 points. The Crimson have got some offense from the back line with guys like you and Adam Fox emerging. But I think even more to the liking of Coach Donato and the rest of the staff, plus 21. You're tied with Clay Anderson, the senior veteran back there, with the best plus-minus on the team. Shows your ability all around and your ability to influence the game and to be mindful defensively.
Yeah. I mean, I would just put that on the coaches. I mean, we have a great team coach, Paul Pearl. Just watch video with us and go over it. And really just the seniors, too, kind of keeping us in check, the freshmen, and it's good to learn from them, and they just kind of teach us everything we know.
It's always a good thing, and I think it's the toughest thing in college hockey. I always look to see how many freshmen are being worked into the lineup and are getting important minutes for a team, and sometimes it does take time with the adjustment. If you do have the luxury of pairing veteran guys, if you're not too much in angle towards the rookies, you can pair up some veteran guys with some of the more inexperienced guys. That's been the case with the Crimson this year, John. What about your defense partner, Wiley Sherman, and how you guys have worked together and complemented each other?
Yeah, Wiley's been unbelievable. He's one of the best shutdown defensemen in the league. Allows me to, maybe if I want to jump up in the play, I know he's always going to be there, or if he wants to. But, yeah, I mean, he's kind of showed me the ropes throughout the whole year and helped me, adjust my game to the college hockey level.
Chicago will be the next stop, and the next opponent will be Minnesota Duluth. I know it's in the early stages, and you're probably educating yourself. Any observations or thoughts that you have now on Duluth and the challenge that they'll present in the semifinal?
Yeah, I mean, they've been top 3 teams all year in the country in pairwise. I mean, they haven't moved, so they've been so consistent. So it's definitely going to be a battle, but have to go over the tape, watch some games, and we just got to bring it.
Well, I think the Crimson, based on your body of work this year, will bring it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely promises to be a couple of great semifinals, and it'll be a great championship game, and hoping the Crimson will be there to represent the ECAC. John, thanks very much. We really appreciate you coming on to join us this week, and on to Chicago with the Crimson, and best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bernie Corbett, pleased to have with us the coach of the surviving ECAC team, the one ECAC team that punched their ticket to the Frozen Four in Chicago. It will be the United Center for the first time. Chicago, the host. A lot of excitement surrounding Frozen Four 2017. And around the Harvard Crimson will be making their first appearance in the Frozen Four since 1994. Coach, welcome and congratulations. You get to this time of year and it's survive and move on, and your team's getting to move on with an opportunity to win the biggest prize.
Yeah, very excited, Bernie. It's a tough road to get to the Final Four. I thought our guys, had a very nice weekend, and we're excited looking forward.
Well, looking back to last weekend, and there was obviously a bit of controversy again surrounding the fact that Providence had the opportunity as a 4 seed to play close to home down the street at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Had a big student contingent. My report was that they had sold on campus prior. I don't know what the walk-up was, but they had sold about 1,500 student tickets. So obviously a strong showing for the Friar fans there, but something that it seems that your team was able to feed off of. It certainly wasn't a dull and quiet building, which can happen depending on what the configuration of the teams are at some of these neutral sites.
Yeah, you know what, it was a great environment. I think I read somewhere where somebody, I think they listed it at about 7,000, and yeah. I think the guy thought it was about 2,000 more than that. So it was a good crowd. Probably a fairly Providence crowd for the most part. But we had a great showing there as well. Great support. So it made for a nice environment, and I think our guys got a great experience overall on the weekend.
You had to weather the storm, particularly there in the first period with Merrick Madsen coming up large for you. 17 of his stops in period one, and kept the game scoreless there to the first minute of the second period.
Yeah, I think they knocked us back on our heels a little bit to start the season, but in general, I thought we were able to survive that. Great goaltending and a couple of key. Strong defensive plays. Wasn't the start we were looking for, but we were able to survive it without having to chase the game from behind. So I put it in a lesson learned category, and we were happy to ultimately get the game back in order and give ourselves a chance to start playing to our identity.
Early second period, you get a very timely power play goal from Tyler Moy. He had a big weekend for you, and big weekend with his contributions on the power play.
Yeah, he's had a great season. He scored some big goals this weekend, and it has been like that for, the last while. I mean, he's right up the top of leading scorers for us, leading goal scorers, and, you can see the confidence that he's playing with, and you can see the energy and compete level that, he's bringing at this most important time of the year. So I'm very happy for Tyler, and, he certainly got us off to a good start on both nights.
Moy's power play goal, and then late in the period, you got one early in the second, then late in the period, Adam Fox. Not too much else we could say about Adam Fox and what he's meant to your program as an impact freshman. I'm sure you look back in recruiting, you knew you had a special player, but did you think he'd be as special as he has been this year? He's been one of he'd almost be a Norris Trophy candidate if it existed in college hockey.
Yeah, you'd have a hard time finding somebody that enjoys Adam Fox's play as much as our coaching staff. He's been great, and the bigger the moment, the bigger the performance. So really happy to see him play so well. Just a great play to get that second goal against Providence, and just made so many key plays under pressure, breaking the puck out of the zone that maybe don't show up on the score sheet, but certainly allow for us to keep momentum in our favor.
And on the other side of it, you look 1 for 4 on the power play, and the big power play goal from Moy that got you on the board originally. You batted a perfect 4-for-4 coach on your penalty kill. Obviously, Madsen looms large there, but you decidedly won that special teams battle.
Yeah, and at this time of the year, you always hear about goaltending and special teams. Well, I mean, I think we won. We won the battle in both those fronts, and it gives us a real good opportunity to win. So it was the final score was 3-0, but it certainly was a battle, and I think for us who've been one and done in the NCAA tournament the last couple years, it was certainly nice to get that first one under our belt.
Allowed you the opportunity to move on to the regional final at the East Regional in Providence, and your opponent, Air Force, surprise of, I guess, really many around college hockey. People looked at the strength of the NCHC, the fact that there was almost 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds, with yourself being the 4th from the NCHC, and Western Michigan was knocked out, as it turns out, by Air Force. And I know with you and your coaching staff, you're in a situation as far as who you're going to face and what the situation is. You're kind of watching both sides of it. Any, I guess not really a shock, but any surprise on your part as to what your pre-scout might have been with Air Force, the fact that they were able to step up and win a big game for their program against Western Michigan?
Yeah, I think if you really look closely at the numbers, this Air Force team has been really good all year. I mean, I think they started the year beating Boston College. I think they lost to Denver in overtime. They played a couple of they tied Ohio State, and they finished really strong. And then they were top 10 team in goals against. Led the country in penalty kill. So they had some pieces in place. They're very well coached. So I think I'd be lying if I didn't say that we were thinking going in that Western Michigan, with all they've accomplished this year, would be our opponent if we were fortunate to move on. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't an easy night's sleep because it was Air Force. I think they were a really impressive team on Friday night. Won most of the races to pucks, won a lot of one-on-one battles, and even though Western Michigan came back in the third, there was a stretch in the second period, in the first 5 minutes of the third, where Air Force really carried the play, and they didn't pull a rabbit out of their hat. They did it the old-fashioned way, and outworked and outchanced, outshot. I think at one point the shots were like 29-12 in Air Force's advantage. So that certainly caught our attention.
Air Force with the victory and 5-4 win over Western Michigan, and able to move on to face your Crimson team in the regional final. Once again, you were able to score first. This time you get a contribution from the back line about halfway through the first period. I think maybe underrated has been some of the offensive contributions you've had. This was Victor Dombrowski with the goal. The fact that you've had Fox, Marino, Dombrowski, some of these guys have been contributing, really have had some all-around ability for you and been part of your success.
Yeah, I think, it's always nice when you have different guys step up, and our defense core has definitely chipped in offensively, and it was nice to get that lead. I thought our start was a lot better than it was against Providence, and it's always nice in a high pressure game, high stakes, to get started with the lead.
Followed that up, your son Ryan, in the second period, and then once again it was Tyler Moy clicking the power play unit, got you to a 3-0 lead, but. In case you hadn't taken notice, 3-0 lead, obviously you think in command of the game, but I think a little bit of the service academy intangible was there, Ted, also. That 3-0, if you're playing a team like an Air Force, I think that's part of the mentality. They're not going to go away.
Yeah, I there was no quit in them whatsoever. We kind of helped them out a little bit. We took a penalty. They scored an extra attacker goal to make it 3-1, 6-on-5. They then went to the power play. scored again. So in about a 19-second turnaround, we went from being comfortable and being a goal away from kind of ending the game, maybe at 4-0, to being 3-2, and having momentum, switch in a hurry. So. Not exactly the way we would have mapped it out, but we took a deep breath, recognized that we were still playing with the lead, and just needed to get back to playing before the way we were before that daily double that they hit. So it's I thought a lot of the locker room talk in between the second and third was positive, and we came out and played a really strong third period, I thought.
Very solid third period against a team looking to rally. You held them to just 8 shots. And also, I think equally impressive was the fact that you didn't take a penalty, showing a lot of discipline in the third period, not giving them any man-up opportunities there down the stretch.
Yeah, I thought like the last 3 minutes or so, maybe 5 minutes, we were probably defending more than I would have liked. But the first 15 minutes, I thought we came out, established some good offensive zone play. I think forced them to take a couple penalties. Their goaltender made, 3 or 4 really great saves to keep the game at a 1-goal difference. And that was tough to swallow, because we had some great looks, some great chances. And I give them credit. They hung in there, and certainly at the end of the game, they were pressing and had some chances, but Merrick Madsen stood large for us there, and we were very happy to be able to move on.
3-2 victory to move on to the Frozen Four. And as you get ready for the next challenge, it'd be an opponent. There's the known and the unknown, and you don't know what you're going to end up with. You get into the tournament, you might see a league rival. You might see a team. If you saw, for example, if Boston University had prevailed, you would have had a team that you saw a couple of times that you beat in the Beanpot final. A Duluth team that not a lot of history between Harvard and Duluth, particularly recently. Any advantage or disadvantage there for you, Coach, as you perceive the matchup with the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I don't see much of an advantage for either side. I think they're two very proud programs. Duluth's been just very consistently excellent for a long time now, and last year we were in the same regional to start the NCAA tournament. They were able to beat Providence. I think lost to Boston College. We lost to Boston College in the first game. So we got to see them there. This is a team that won the NCHC tournament championship. Has been one of the top 3 teams in the country pretty much all year. They were the preseason number 1. So, real veteran group, good size, good skill, a lot of talent, and very well coached. They've had a goaltender that, really had an outstanding weekend last weekend to allow them to move on. But, this is a team that, poses a tremendous challenge for us, but one we're looking forward to. And I think, as we move closer to the game, we'll have a better handle as to what they do. But ultimately, I think the real focus is on our game and bringing what we need to do to be successful.
And you will be doing it with a group well documented of 7 seniors, a great core group of obviously talented players, but leaders. Just to give us a little bit of perspective. So tough, Coach, to keep a talented group together for 4 years. I think that's one of the real challenges of college hockey, with the early departures all around. But you've kind of had that lightning in a bottle to have that group together and invested and committed in the job at hand and checking the boxes as you have this year.
Yeah, and I think the players deserve a lot of credit. I think a lot of these guys have worked awfully hard to develop into impact players. I think whether you're talking about Tyler Moy or you're talking about Luke Esposito, you're talking about guys that put in a lot of time and effort and have a great passion for the game, which has allowed them to continue to improve. They weren't instant stars in their first couple of years, but they've worked themselves into being, tremendous players. And then a guy like Sean Malone, who, has fought through a lot of tough injuries over the last couple of years to have really a breakthrough season this year. And, and Alexander Kerfoot, who's been tremendous over the last couple of years, but, we've asked him to, to lead a group of younger forwards, after playing with, both VC and Criscuolo over the last 2 years. So, it's a different mix, maybe than some other schools have, but we're really proud of, everything that these seniors stand for. They're, not only, tremendous hockey players, but they're great leaders, great student athletes, and really representative of what we want to be all about.
Well, once again, Beanpot, Ivy, Cleary, Whitelaw, NCAA regional to get to this point. You certainly got a group that's battle-tested, Coach, in a number of different scenarios, and particularly in the one and done in the single elimination. There's a certain mindset to that, as you know from back in your playing days, and these guys have had a ton of experience now.
Yeah, I think we've tested. Whether it's the Beanpot or the ECAC tournament or the NCAA tournament, they've gone into some hostile environments and had success, and I think it should give the group confidence that we can go out there and play some of our best hockey.
And lastly, Coach, I'd be remiss because the two of us are, I guess neither one of us is getting any younger, particularly me, I want to say, but. Will you be showing the guys any of that grainy footage with the glass boards from 1989, from back in 28 years ago when Harvard won the national championship? Will you bring in Ed Crayer maybe for an inspirational talk?
You get some good ideas, Bernie. I like it. We usually I do have a DVD from that '89 championship team. Yep. We usually bring on one road trip during the year, and the kids usually love and they really like seeing it. They enjoy seeing the strange person with the same name as me with a full head of hair that appears at several times. But no, it's I think that there is a great history here and a real tight network of a family that is Harvard hockey that we take great pride in, and each team is different. I think the guys are fully aware of what's happened in the past and would love to make, continue to write their own history, which they've done so far.
Well, when they watch that film, I think if the ones that are very perceptive will see that number 6 in that old film, he kind of looks a little bit like 16 does on the current Harvard team. They skate very much alike.
Well, we'll see. I would love 16 to have the same experience and the same, teammates that I was so lucky to have here, and have, that memory of doing something with a great group of guys that you could look back on years later. So we'll have our fingers crossed, and it should be a lot of fun.
Indeed. You mentioned the Harvard hockey family, and I suspect one very excited alum over in Auburndale. No question about that with Coach Cleary.
Yeah, it was great to see him after watching the film of the game the other day, seeing him get interviewed, and seeing him on, on the television broadcast. He really is, such a, inspiration, I think, to not only, former players, but even the current players. You see the love he has for Harvard, the love he has for, the sport of hockey, and the passion that he brings, even at this age, is inspirational, and he certainly would give us a lot of confidence that we can go out there and play well.
Well, you got one guy who'll be a home game for from that '94 team, and you might want to not lose his number. I know he's been crushing it in the finance world. Maybe Ted Drury can have you over for a home cooked meal for the club.
Yeah, we'll work on it. But
okay.
Ted Drury certainly someone we're really proud of. As you know, Bernie, having dealt with Chris Drury over at BU as well, just a first class family, and just one of the finest human beings you'd meet in any facet of life. So we're really happy to be out in Chicago and have such great alums around. But Teddy Drury and his wife Liz, who was
Hall of Famer.
Member of a national championship lacrosse team.
That's right.
Are certainly Harvard athletic elite. So we're happy to be in their hometown.
To heck with Ed Crair. Let Liz Drury speak instead. That's my vote.
That would be fun.
There you go. Ted, thanks very much for your time, and we appreciate it here as we have all season on Inside ECAC Hockey, Inside Harvard Hockey, and look forward to seeing you in Chicago next week.
Well, thanks, Bernie. Can't wait to be in Chicago ourselves, so thank you very much.